Hey Victoria, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Town Talk, where we talk to different community members and city members about all things educational about the city of Victoria. I'm your host, Ashley Strevel, the Director of Communications, and I've got my fun co-host today,
AJ Gonzalez. Yeah, I'm just here to hang out as always. I don't know why they keep bringing me on, but
he's kind of fun.
Yeah.
He's our digital media specialist. He's awesome, does a lot of cool stuff for our communications department for the city. And we got a special guest here.
We do.
You guys are going to want to see this.
We do.
It's our UHV President, Dr. Bob Glenn. Do you talk?
Like?
Do you say anything? This show's not going to be very interesting. Oh my God, what do we do? Well, that makes sense. Look who showed up.
Sorry about that. When you work with a party animal, you got to expect this sort of stuff.
I guess so. Well, welcome, Dr. Glenn.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Welcome,
Thanks for having me here. It's a great day at UHV.
Yes,
sir.
it is. And that's where we're at, by the way,
Yes.
in case you guys are wondering. This beautiful setup is at University Commons, the new building, where if you are stuck in line at Chick-fil-A at the Whispering Creek Center, you could come here.
Yeah.
That's right. You could get here, you could come from Whispering Creek to here and
Yeah.
get your order and be back home in less time than if you stayed at Whispering
Yeah.
Creek.
I believe that.
I'm just saying.
Well, tell us more about you before we get started. Usually we get to know our guests a little better. So tell us about your background. I know fun facts about you, but we'll let you share them yourself.
Well, you know, I've been in higher education through my entire career. I started out as a hall director in a men's residence hall.
Wow.
And they just kept asking me to do more things. Could you be in charge of residential assignments? Then could you be in charge of fraternities? And could you? So, you know, I
just
looked up
in charge of
8
it all.
years later, and I was still there. So that was when I was at Birmingham Southern College. I then went to the University of North Alabama, and from there to Southwest Missouri State, then Middle Tennessee State, then Athens State University, which, by the way, is not in Athens, Georgia. A lot of people think it is. I always have to
Right.
remind
That's
them
what I was
that
going to ask. Yeah.
no higher education actually occurs in Athens, Georgia, but it does in Athens, Alabama, which is
Wow.
where Athens State is. So I came here just shy of 4 years ago from Athens State University.
Time has flown.
It has.
I was at UHV when you were first a finalist for our president, and I was so excited because you were from Alabama. My husband is from Alabama, so
All
I'm
right.
assuming you're an Alabama fan.
No, actually.
Or maybe an Auburn fan.
My husband's an Auburn fan, just to be clear.
Well, you know, I actually have 2 degrees. My master's and PhD are both from Alabama, and I root for Auburn. But that's
Very
primarily because I like sleeping indoors. My wife is from Columbus, Georgia, and that's Auburn territory.
Oh,
so.
I believe it.
That makes sense. And not that I read your bio or anything like that, but you have a lineage of presidents
That's
of
right.
universities, huh?
Well, I have an interesting lineage in that my great-great-great-grandfather came to Alabama as a Methodist missionary
Wow.
in 1835, and then there was sort of a tradition of either being a preacher or a teacher for a number of generations, and my great-grandfather was president at Athens when it was Athens Women's College in 1902. So 100 years after he left, there was I. And it was really a very nice connection. It was very meaningful. His roll-top desk that he took with him to every one of his appointments, he was a Methodist minister, so the Methodists move you around on a regular basis. And he was all over North Alabama, but his roll-top desk was in my study, so that was just a really nice connection to
That's
have.
really cool.
Added a lot of meaningful connection to the institution. But after about 10 years, I had accomplished all that I had set out there to do, and so I was contacted about this position, and it looked like an opportunity for me to come and do some more good things and meet some challenges. And while we do have a number of challenges here, we also have some great opportunities to do some really good things.
Absolutely.
And I've been very pleased at the way the community embraces the university. As you may know, the chancellor's charge to me was to make UHV a destination university.
Right.
And when I got here, everybody was talking about UHV being a destination university. but nobody could tell me what that is. So I had to create my own definition, which basically is that we create a community that people want to come and be a part of for 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Because we do 4 years of undergraduate, and we do a number of master's and EDD degrees. So we want to be a place that people want to come and be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And that means not only working on our campus community, but working with Victoria very deliberately.
Right.
We want to help the downtown area be more vibrant. We want to help people feel connected to this great city. I mean, this is one of the oldest cities in the state of Texas, which is pretty significant.
Right.
So we've been engaged with a lot of different programs. Innovation Collective, which we'll probably talk about, is an example of the kinds of things that we're trying to do, because whatever's good for Victoria is good for UHV.
Right. And vice versa.
And vice versa.
So on that note, there's a lot of different collaborative efforts that the city has been spearheading, such as the Broadband Commission. Like you mentioned, Innovation Collective is just a partnership that we've been involved in. And then even the UHV Ben Wilson Corridor. So there's a lot of overlap between what the city does and what their mission is and what UHV's mission is. And it's really neat to see the bridge come together. So can you talk about some of those?
Sure. The city's been a great partner with us, and they've been willing to do things that are out of the ordinary. I mean, the Ben Wilson project's a great example. We're going to take a 5-lane thoroughfare and reduce it down to 2 lanes with the turn lane to slow down the flow of traffic just a little bit. I don't think it will ultimately really affect the flow of traffic through this area.
Right.
And for those that are concerned, the road's been specifically designed not to impede ambulances in any way. So if there's a car already on the road, the ambulance can get around it.
Right.
But it's not going to be a 2-lane. And that's important because my experience has been that when you're out here, it's such a wide open street that folks forget that it's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Right.
And sometimes they come through here at 40 or 50 miles an hour. So that will slow down the traffic, make it safer for our students to go back and forth. As you may know, we're going to be making this side of the campus residential. We have a new residence hall. We'll probably be building 1 or 2 more residence halls in this direction. The new wellness center will be right across Red River from this building. Eventually, we expect to build another dining hall as an add-on to this building. So this will be our residential, so we'll be going back and forth between academic and residential. We've just gotten about $45 million in state bond money, and we'll be using that to consolidate our academic spaces. So all academics will be in south, north, and west. Center will become more of a student services kind of place, so financial aid, admissions, those kinds of things. And the Northwest Campus, which a lot of people will remember as the Old Town Plaza Mall. I always have to know where Walgreens was, so I can point it when people come in. Now, Walgreens was over here, and Luby's was back that way. But that will become more of what we would refer to as back of house. So IT, financial services, Small Business Development Authority. And our Center for Regional Collaborations, which is also working on broadband, but working on rural broadband.
Right.
Because broadband is a very important issue for us. We do a lot of online programming, a lot of online classes, and we have students in some of our areas that are, pulling up into the McDonald's so they can get to the Wi-Fi.
I believe it.
Starbucks. There just isn't reliable Wi-Fi in their area.
Sure.
I had one student that would talk to me about going to the library in their small town, getting on one of the computers because he didn't have one at home. So he relied on the library, and they were happy to help him, but they didn't allow talking. So if he had a question in the midst of his program, he'd have to do, get completely out, go outside, call his professor, ask his question, get in, and go back in and hope somebody hadn't leaped in front of him.
Sure.
So we are hopeful that we can be a catalyst for good things to happen in that area. And as you know, when the state comptroller came through, we hosted that here on campus. because it's in our best interest to get really good broadband in this area.
Right. And so Derek Farrell is one of our assistant city managers. He's been spearheading the Broadband Commission, which involves entities such as yourself, UHV, VISD, the hospitals, big players in the community. And so that's exciting to see that come to fruition. I know that you have the UHV Summit coming up, is that right?
That's right.
And so tell us more about that. By the time this episode airs, you will have already have had the event.
That's
but
right.
I think it's good to let the public know what all you guys are up
Well,
to.
this is a summit that's being done by the Center for Collaboration. They're bringing in a special consultant who's going to be helping us think about being more intentional as a region and working together. Because a lot of the individual counties in our area just don't have the connections necessary to do what needs to be done in their area. And broadband is important for us not only in terms of the counties, but also in terms of the city. There are Wi-Fi dead spots here in the middle of Victoria. Victoria is a thriving city, but there's still spots, particularly on the south side, where it's very difficult. So we want to do everything we can to encourage Wi-Fi and better connections, because if we don't, it hampers our ability to really serve our students and move forward.
And I'm sure you saw that big time during the pandemic.
Well, I was going to say, providing opportunity, and it allows people to get that higher education that they may not want to drive or be here or whatever it may be.
Yeah, we were very fortunate during the pandemic. As you know, UHV was one of the first universities to get into online education. So we really had a very strong background. All of our faculty were prepared. They had online versions of their face-to-face classes. So when we had to make that pivot, we were ready, and our students were used to it, because most of our students took at least one online class in addition to the face-to-face. So now we're going to be making the transition back, but online will still very much be a major part of who we are as an institution.
Right. So tell us more about UHV and the goals that you guys have.
Well,
I know a lot of times we hear about retention, student recruitment, curriculum changes, things like that. And so can you speak to
we're
that?
in a unique position in that we're the only four-year institution in a 100-mile radius. And it is an area, a region that is known for cattle ranching, farming, oil production, large chemical companies like Dow and Formosa.
Right.
So there's a lot of variability. However, in my view, one thing that UHV has not done well in is having an academic inventory that connects our area residents with job opportunities. So, we have Dow, we have Formosa, but we have no engineering program here. We have cattle ranching, we have farming, but we have no agriculture. So we're going to be taking a very deliberate look at our academic inventory. And as you know, we just opened up University South, which is our science and technology building. And we can stand toe-to-toe with any institution now that we have that building. So we're very deliberately looking at the sciences. We had 3 colleges, education, arts and sciences, and business. We've added a 4th, natural and applied sciences, and we're going to be working very deliberately to expand in the sciences specifically engineering. We've just received notification that we're probably going to be, I can't say we have achieved it because we haven't been officially notified, but we've achieved A-BET accreditation, which is the gold standard in the sciences area. So we received that in computer science. That will allow us to immediately apply for a computer science engineering program. Once we get that established, then we'll be lining up all the other kinds of engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical, all that.
Cool. Yeah.
And we do that because when you talk to the plant manager at Dow or Formosa or Investa, they will tell you they can get good engineers here from Houston or Dallas or wherever it may be, but they can't hold them. They'll be here for 2 or 3 years, get some good experience, but then they want to go other places. We believe pretty strongly that if we take the students who grew up here, who have those connections, who have family here, who want to stay in this area, that we can provide a pathway to those jobs. So we'll be working with area industries to make sure that we provide the right kind of engineering programs to really move students very quickly from high school into, through UHV into all those good paying jobs.
Right.
As you know, about 64% of our students are first generation.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, which is a very interesting dynamic. But the thing that is important here is that when we take a student who's first generation and give them a college degree and enable them to go and work at a Dow or Formosa, we've changed not only that student's life, but we've changed the life of his family.
Yep.
And we've also created an additional reason that other people within that family will now come forward to UHV.
Right.
So we think that that's an important role for us to fill. We think the same opportunities can exist in agriculture, animal science, those kinds of areas. So we think if we become more intentional about making sure that we have the majors that suit the job opportunities, that we can really grow. And our goal is to grow to at least 6,000 students here at the Victoria campus. As you know, we have two campuses, one here and one in Katy.
Right.
We think we can grow to about 4,000 in Katy, about 6,000 here.
Wow.
But we have to create the programs people want to come to.
Sure.
We can't just keep doing what we've always done.
Yep.
So we've got to look honestly at our programs and make some decisions about what's working well and enhance that, and what's not working so well, and we've got to make some hard decisions about some of those programs.
Right, right.
I love the growth that's been happening, because whenever it was my time to go to college, over a decade ago, I guess, you know, I was here at VC, but I chose to go to A&M because of the programs that were offered. But the way it looks now, it looks like a bit of A&M's campus. It looks everything the part of a university.
Right.
Well,
and
and
it's
that's
offering the programs now as well.
right. And that's all part of becoming the destination. We want to create the feel of a university campus, the feel of a community. That's why we very deliberately tried to build residence halls so that we can bring students from outside of our immediate area here. Commuter students are always going to be a very important part of who we are, but we want to recruit from the Valley, from San Antonio, from Houston. And we think when we do that, we bring them here and show them how good it is to be here in Victoria.
Right, exactly. And that's part of the city's efforts too, with the Main Street program downtown. You know, one of the things that we talk about is how do we get people, not just people, but young folks downtown, who are, you know, going to have that disposable income to spend on those shopping centers or bars or whatever is downtown,
There's a
the
lot
restaurants.
of leadership programs that are starting to pop up for youth, you know, for young people to be able to be an entrepreneur or whatever it may be.
Innovation Collective.
Innovation Collective.
Right.
Innovation
So
Collective is a good
big
example
effort.
of what we can do, because it's not an incubator. You've probably seen lots of business incubators over the years, and typically that's a situation where you have a place that new businesses can go and operate out of.
Right.
And that's helpful, but it's not really stimulating. Innovation Collective is a place to come where people can connect with other people, exchange ideas, learn from one another, and create a synergy and a catalytic kind of converter where ideas become concrete. And we've already had a couple of businesses that have opened up here in town as a result of people getting connected with others through the collective. So we're very excited about that opportunity.
Right. It's been great to see Carissa Winters. I had the opportunity to talk with her a few episodes back. And she's so energetic, so excited, so passionate. And she's from Victoria. And so you start to see that sort of, you know, in energy kind of permeating throughout the community and the resources, coming together, sharing thoughts, sharing resources.
That's right.
That's, like you said, catalytic for making
Plays
things
a huge
happen
part in retention as
Victoria.
well, because as a hometown kid, you realize, well, here in Victoria, we do have the things that the other bigger cities offer, you know. Now that we have,
absolutely.
I think that was my thing when I was growing, you know, through my 20s. I wanted to be in the bigger city because I felt like there was always, not competition, but always motivation or somebody.
And maybe the story that you heard others, or the story you even told yourself was, there's nothing to do in Victoria. What is there in Victoria? But it's terrible. I mean, and coming from a communications mindset, the best thing to do is share what you're doing, tell your story. And that's why we're talking to you, and that's what we want to share with students in your recruitment efforts. We want to tell them all the awesome things that are happening here in Victoria, not only with UHV, with the city, and how we're working together, And I think that's just a huge story to tell.
Exactly.
Help with
Because
recruitment.
if you stop and think about it, there's no great university that's not in a great university town. And Victoria is a great town, but it's not a university town. It's not a college town.
Right.
And I'm not talking about just having more bars, as a lot of people sometimes think.
That's what they think, yes.
That's really not it.
their go-to.
It's quality of life. It's dog parks. It's walkability.
Right.
It's the ability to ride a bike through town safely.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there are going to be some places that are never going to be walkable. Navarro will never be walkable. It'll never be bikeable.
Yeah.
But Red River
Right.
runs all the way down into Riverside Park. If we could make that bikeable, our students
Oh,
would
man, that
then
would
be
be
able to
awesome,
get
man.
down there. Then you can come back up through Old Victoria into downtown, come back on
Absolutely.
north.
What a beautiful trail that would be,
I
like,
know,
as
I
a
know.
student. Provides
Well,
goes
and the
into health and
city's already
fitness.
working on a lot of those efforts, like with the Parks Master Plan. You know, there's a dog park in that plan. They're
That's
going to
right.
be looking at all of our parks and how to revamp them, make them safer, more attractive, but also sidewalks and streets. We just
Exactly.
spoke with Mike Atian, our assistant city manager, who is spearheading the efforts of, okay, Ken Gill is doing an awesome job. What can we do better in the future with any sort of street project that we take on? Well, let's consider sidewalks as a part of that. And so I just love to see how the two,
Partnership.
yes, the
It's-
partnership is meeting both mission of
Yeah.
both entities, or really the communities.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
I mean, I wanted to know, I guess for me, I know like there's tons of kids coming out of high school, or maybe even somebody that had their higher education stopped for some reason, you know, life. What's the vision kind of for that, for them? What would you say, how do you want them feeling coming out of the university?
Well, one of the things that higher education in general has not done well is to work with K through 12 in pulling children forward. If you look at the studies that have been done, we tend to lose kids about the 5th grade. They're bright, they're able to do the work, but they get to a point where they hear mom and dad talk about, well, we can't afford to send them to college. And they genuinely think they can't. And so they kind of lose hope. And so they become less forward-looking and more, what can I get by with? And so we end up losing a lot of students who would have very viable futures, but they become discouraged and they look in other directions. What we've got to do is connect with those students and give them the good news that you can go to a university and get a degree and be capable of having a really bright future. In Victoria, there are more jobs that require a bachelor's degree than there are people who hold the bachelor's degree in the entire city. So there's a market there. But they've got to know that they can manage to put together the financing to make it happen. And I would point out to people that 60% of our students graduate without debt.
Right.
And that the average debt of those who do graduate with debt is not $100,000 or $200,000 like you hear in the media. It's $24,000,
Right.
which is a manageable load for most people. So we've got to get connected both with the students and their parents. Parents have to be encouraged. Parents have to know that, yes, our kid can go to school. They can go to
Absolutely.
college. They can go to a future that's different from ours.
Right.
They don't have to be wedded to whatever we're already in.
Right.
Encouraging that first generation
Right.
student.
So one of the things that we do is I meet every month. In fact, I met this morning with Jennifer Kent and Quentin Shepard, where we sit down and talk about what specific ways we can work together to pull people forward, to pull them from VISD to VC or UHV, to pull them through VC here.
Right.
You know, what kinds of programs? So we're looking, for instance, at joint degrees. We're currently working on our nursing program. VC has the first 2 years, the RN degree. We have the RN to BSN degree, so we
Right.
want to combine our two faculties to create a seamless 4-year opportunity for students. That's important for us because that then opens up recruiting from outside this area
Absolutely.
into a 4-year program where they would take part of their classes at VC and part of their classes at UHV. And that's not rocket science, okay? That's a matter of logistics and thinking about what you want to do and setting up the right kind of contract.
Right.
So we're excited about those opportunities. We think in addition to nursing, we could have those opportunities in art, in music, in drama, in lots of areas that we probably wouldn't develop on our own, but if we didn't have to bear the entire burden, if we could share faculty, share
Yes.
degree costs, we can make some really interesting things happen.
That's exciting.
And people need to understand it's not either VC or UHV.
Right.
I mean, each student has to choose the pathway that's best for them.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah. Lots of resources out there. And again, you come back to that whole shared community. And
That's right.
Amazing. So talk to us again about the affordability of the community. Did something happen behind you? What's going on?
I think Jax is still a little discouraged.
I just saw a shadow, and I'm like, oh God, are we gonna get attacked?
Great facility, and now I know why there's paw prints all over the place.
That's exactly right.
Tracking in the dirt from outside.
So about the facilities, I was gonna ask you actually about affordability of college. You know, you were saying annual, well, overall, right? Cumulative, it's $24,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but that's really not in a manageable situation. We keep talking about first generation students. There's a lot of grants available out there. I know financial aid sounds like a big nebulous concept, but it's very attainable, and it's very low.
It is very attainable. There are lots of grants. There are lots of low-cost loans. There are lots of scholarship opportunities. But people have to get connected to make that possible. They have to do something which is difficult, and that's fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. I can tell you that when my three went to college and I had to fill out a FAFSA, I had a PhD and 20 years experience, and I still didn't know exactly what the heck I was doing while filling that out.
Line.
So that's why we offer assistance, and there are regular programs, particularly the what is it, the 30 by 60 program, the state program comes here every year and offers assistance with the FAFSA. We offer assistance, VC offers assistance. We can get people past that. And when they get that FAFSA in there, it gives us a chance to then begin to work with them to cobble together loans or grants or scholarships or work study. Student can work their way through. So there are lots of different ways to skin this cat. And a lot of it will depend on are they going to live on campus? Are they going to live at home and commute? I mean, there are a lot of ways to make this work.
You can do it. You can fill out that form. I know it's not just the click of a button, but you can do it.
Yes.
It is a chore, but life is full of chores.
Yes.
You know, and the difference between very successful people and people who have washed out are that the very successful people were willing to do the work. You have to be willing to make the commitment and do the work.
Nobody's going to do it for you.
Wow. Can I get that on a t-shirt?
Yes,
Dr. Glenn.
I don't think I think you can get it on a t-shirt with several different names.
Well, this was so enlightening. I mean, I love talking with you even in general. We work together, obviously.
That's right.
And it was a pleasure.
We do still miss you.
We still get to talk. Look at
That's
this.
right.
This is exciting. You've got a great staff and faculty that I know that you're spearheading. So excited to see all that you're going to do in the community.
And bravo to whoever recruited you. How they got you here.
Well, you know,
like
I was
football recruiting.
You know, I think the one thing you'll find among people in positions like mine is that we're folks that are looking for something to do. You know, we get excited about coming and making a difference.
That's awesome.
And so that was one of the things that brought me here. I could see there was lots that needed doing. And that's not a negative. That's a positive in my view.
Especially when there's lots of potential.
That's right.
And existing resources, and that's just really neat to see it all coming to a head. So thank you again, Dr. Glenn, for your time.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks.
Handy
as
dandy
always,
co-host,
I'm here,
right?
just here in this chair.
Same.
Yep.
Just chilling.
I had a fun time though. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for tuning in, and if you want to keep watching, you can check us out on local cable channels TV 15 and 115. And you can follow us on our fun social media channels. They're out there. Find them. Our YouTube channel, Victoria, Texas Videos, and everything else that we do as the city. We want to thank, again, UHV and their facilities for allowing us this beautiful setting. And we hope that you'll stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.